Hello everyone, welcome back to Full Stack Task Management Project using React.js and Spring Boot with microservice architecture. So guys, in today's video we are gonna build submission microservice. Alright, so let's start without wasting any time. Let me go to my IntelliJ IDEA, and here you can see in the first video we have made task service, then user service, and in the second video we have made task service, and today in this video we are gonna build submission service. So let's go to browser and Spring Initializer. Let's go to Spring Initializer and let's open this first website, and let's create first our project for submission service. So what we are gonna do is let's choose Maven from here, then package will use Josh, and then artifact, in the artifact will give a submission service. Okay, submission service, and let's give here task submission service, and in the description we'll write submission service for task management. All right, packaging will be jar and our version will be 17. Now let's add some dependencies. So Lombok, first we will add Lombok, then Spring Boot Dev Tool, then let's add Spring Web. Here you can see Spring Web. Alright, now let's add the discovery client, Eureka discovery client. Alright, and now let's add the MySQL driver. So let me search for MySQL driver, then data JPA. Okay, also let's add data JPA. Alright, so that's enough, I guess. That's enough. Now let's generate our project. So when I click on generating, it will okay, not into thumbnail. Let's go back. Actually, inside YouTube, inside projects, inside microservices, task management. Here I need to download this task submission service. So let's save it. Now let's go to, let me close this, actually not this, yeah, and let's maximize it. Let's unzip first, extract all. Alright, now let's go to here, let's cut it out from here and paste it here. Okay, and I will delete this zip file because we don't need anymore this zip file. Now let's go to IntelliJ, and here you can see our project is not loaded. So what I'm gonna do, I will go to here Maven, I will click on this plus icon and add this project submission, and now I can close this, and yeah, you can see now our project is added here successfully. So let's start it. Okay, and it will ask us to add a suitable driver class. So you can see, as expected, it's yelling on us that please provide me suitable driver class. So let's provide it. What I'm gonna do, I will open my previous project, that is nothing but task service. Go to src, main, resource, application.yaml file. Let's copy all this configuration. Let's go to now submission, open src, main, resources. First let's change the type of our file. So let's refactor it, rename. Let's remove these properties and write here YAML instead of properties. Let's open this, Control V, and here I need to give port 5003. Okay, and instead of task service I will give here submission service. So submission service. Okay, then instead of this YouTube task service I will give YouTube submission service database, or maybe let's give YouTube task submission service. Okay, let's copy this database and create this database in our local MySQL. So let's open MySQL command line. First let me logged in. Oh, it's closed, so let's do it again. Let's give it right password. Again I have made a mistake to write password, so let's do this one more time. And yeah, now let's create a database. So create database, and this is the name of our database. Here we should give YouTube, not only T. So let's YouTube task submission service. All right, now let's hit enter, and you can see one row affected, our database is created. Now let's rerun it. Okay, and it is saying 5003 already in use. Of course, it's right, it's correct. So let's go to here, and now you can see here I have run this 4 or maybe 5 services. So let me stop all these 5 services. Okay, stop, and stop. Okay, all our 5 services are stopped here. I have stopped. Now let's go to our project and rerun it again. And one more thing, it's saying cannot execute request on any unknown server. Of course, it will give us this error. So we need to go to pom.xml. From here we need to comment our discovery client dependency. So here it is. Okay, now let's rerun it. And guys, in the previous video and before that video I have explained that why we need to comment this. Okay, so I'm not gonna explain anymore now. So you can see our project is running fine now. All right, so let's do one thing. First let's create our home controller, or let me minimize this, and then we can start our project. So let's go to Java, new, and let's create here one package. So first is controller. Let me create one more package, new, model, then service, then repository, all right, controller, model, repository, service, and I guess yeah, that's it. Now let's create one home controller first. So home controller, let's annotate it with REST controller. All right, and public response entity. Here what should I give? String home controller, then let's return new response entity. Let's give here some string like welcome to submission service. Submission service. Alright. And here I need to give HTTP status code. So HTTP status code will be okay. That's it. And let's annotate it with get mapping. And that's it. Now let's go to here. Let's access. So localhost 5003. Empty character literal. Let me rerun it once. Okay, that is the problem. Let's go to here again and let's refresh it once. Let's refresh it once more. Why you are not starting? Please start, please. Is there anything wrong? Oh, our service is stopped. So let's start it again. Now let's go to here. Let's refresh this. And oh, that is the mistake. And there you go. Welcome to submission service. Now what I'm gonna do is I will give here submission. Okay, and here also submit. That's how we'll exit it. Okay, so it's working fine, totally fine. Let me close this and let's go to our project and let's start now. Let's go to model, create new class, that is nothing but submission. Okay, and what are the fields we need in the submission? First we need the ID, but before that we need to annotate it with entity, then no args constructor, all args constructor, data. Alright, now let's private long and ID. Okay, also we need to annotate with generated value. Strategy will be generation type auto. Alright, now let's give task ID. So private, it will be long task ID. So this submission is related to which task? Okay, this task ID here we need to give. Now let's give here a string GitHub link. So user have complete this task inside their Git repository, or maybe it's a local machine. Okay, but first he need to push their code inside GitHub repository, and then he need to provide that GitHub repository link here. Okay, for submission. So yeah, now let's give your user ID, like which user have submit the submissions. So that's why we need to give here user ID. Now private string and status will be pending. Okay, status will be pending by default. Once user can accept, it will be accept or declined. It means admin can change the status. Okay, so yeah, submission time. Okay, so guys, this status can change by only admin. Why? Because when user will submit their task, admin will check the submission is perfect or not. If it's not fine, then he can decline. And if the submission is correct after seeing all the codes, then he will accept the submissions. That means its status will be accepted. All right. So yeah, now let's create the service, submission service. So let's click on new, submission service, and submission, submit task, long, task ID, string, GitHub link, long, user ID. So what is the problem here? Okay, GitHub link, user ID, and what else I need for this? User ID. Throws exception. And let me change from class to interface. Now let's write method for get task submission by ID. Get task submission by ID, task submission by ID. So long submission ID, submission like this. Okay, throws exception, list. Here we need to give submission, get all submission, gets all task submissions. And now here get task submissions by task ID means we'll get all the submissions of any one task. All right, so get task submissions by task ID. So long task ID. So guys, these task IDs will get all the submission of these task IDs, right? Here we'll get all the submissions of these task IDs. I hope you understand. Now submission, accept and decline submissions. Okay, accept, decline submission. So ID and string status, throws exception, th. All right, great. Now let's create implementation. So submission service implementation implements submission service and implements all the method. Now let's annotate with service. Okay, now before starting the implementation, before starting to write implementation of all this method, we need the repository. So let's create first repository, submission repository, okay. It will extend JPA repository. So here we need to provide the entity name and ID which are present inside the ID type which are present inside that entity. So ID type will be long, and also instead of class here we need to use interface. Alright, and now here we need to write one custom method that is nothing but finding all the submissions of any one task. Okay, so it will provide a list of submissions. Find by, we need to first write find by, then you can see it's giving us this a recommendation, but we need task find by task ID. Okay, long task ID. And what I'm gonna do, I will import this. Now let's start to write implementation code of our all the methods. And before this, let's define here submission repository. So private submission repository, and let's annotate with auto add. Okay, great. Also guys, we need here task service. Okay, why we need the task service inside our submission service? Because you can see here we are providing task ID. Okay, so before providing the task ID, we need to check this task ID is valid or not. That means any task is present in our database which have this task ID or not. So for that we need to use this method. Let me show you that. Inside main, inside let's go to controller, or maybe services, service implementation, and here you can see we have this method get task by ID. Okay, it will check if task is present with this ID, then it will return the task, else it will throw this exception, tasks not found. So we need to handle this in submission service implementation as well. Here, because this task ID will provided by user from front end, so we need to validate this task ID is valid or not. If task is present in our database with this ID, then only we need to create the submission for this, else we need to throw the exception that this task is not found with ID which you have provided. So alright, now you may have a question like okay, we understand that we need to validate this, but how we can bring that method inside our submission service? Because that's that method was written inside task service, and task service has their own database. Okay, so how we can communicate with task service microservice, task microservice? So we need to establish the connection so that our submission service can communicate with our task microservice. Okay, and for that we need to use Open client. And as you remember, when we have initialized our project, that time we forgot to add Open client dependency. So first we need that dependency. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, let me add a new dependency, Open client, and let's select it. Let's go to explore and let's find our dependency inside here. So you can see that this dependency we need. Spring Framework Cloud, Spring Cloud Starter Open client, and Spring Boot Starter Test version. Okay, so let's go to our pom.xml file, and I hope here we have oh no, oh yeah, we have this. All right, so let's go to dependencies. Inside this dependency tag, after the Spring Boot Starter Test, I will add here Open client, and let me reload this. Maven changes. Okay, now let's go to here services and create new service. So first let's create a task service. Okay, before that let me go to here and enable Open client for our application. So enable clients, and here also we need to annotate clients. We need to give name. So name will be submission service, and here we need to give URL. So our submission service is running on port 5003. So let's go to here, let's provide our URL. Okay, that's it. And now what you need to do is just go to controller, task controller, and just copy that method, whatever you want, whichever you want. So I need this get task ID by ID. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I will copy this and I will go to here task service. All right, and one more thing, it should be interface, not class. Okay, we'll create this task DTO. So what I'm gonna do, let's go to this model, create new classes, and task DTO. Inside the task DTO I need the tasks models, all the field. So let's go to here, control chat, let's copy task DTO, provide this. Also we need this task status as well. So let's copy this and paste it over here. All right, now let me import this task DTO. And like this. Okay, so Guys, first we need to annotate it with get mapping. Then here we need to provide the whole path instead of only this ID. So our endpoint will start from API and tasks. Okay, and why I have given this endpoint. So let me show you this endpoint in our controller. So you can see here we have ID, but we have this request mapping as well, API task. So our endpoint will start from this API, then tasks, then ID. So that's why we need to give that. Now let's go, let me minimize this a little bit, close this, and let's go to task service. Okay, and also one more method I need here, and that is nothing but completing task. For completing task, so let's go to below this. So let me copy this and let's go to here like this. Here I need to provide task DTO, and here also I need to provide whole path, so it will be tasks. Okay, so our task service is completed. Now let's go to task submission application, actually not application, let me close this, implementation. Okay, so guys, now we can find task by using this task ID, but there is one more problem. What is this? You can see here we have user ID as well, so we need user service as well inside this submission service implementation, so that our submission service can communicate our user service along with the task service. Okay, that's why we need here user service as well. So what I'm gonna do is I will bring the user service as well, same like task service. So let me create here new class, Java class, inside this user service. And what we can do, guys, in the previous video, in the task service, we have write this user service. Okay, so from that I will copy this method and I will bring inside this, or let me make it interface. Let's go back one more time and copy this. Okay, and of course we don't have this user DDO, so let's create this user DDO class, and we'll create inside not services but inside model. Okay, and inside this user DDO, so let's go to here we have user DDO, and let's copy all this fields. Let's paste it over here. Now here let's provide no args constructor, all args constructor, and data. Also let's provide this to tasks DDO as well. This three thing. Okay, now let's go to task submission service implementation, and I guess we don't need it now, so let me close this user service as well. Okay, that's great. Now what we are gonna do is we'll write here task service as well. So task service, and let me annotate it with auto wired. Okay, so first let's find the task. So task DTO equal to task, then here task service, get task by ID we have, and here we need to provide task ID. Also, it's required two parameter. It's required a two parameter, and what is this? First is ID, second is JWT. Also we need to provide here JWT. So let's receive here JWT and provide it here JWT. Now what we need to do is let's go to here and make some changes. String JWT. Adapt using get body. Required task DTO, provided response entity. Alright, so let's make some changes inside our task service. Remove this, and remove this as well, and this as well. Okay, and here we'll check if task not equal to null. If it is not null, then we'll create new submissions. So submissions equal to new submissions. Then submission dot set task ID, set user ID, submission dot set GitHub link, submission dot set submission time, local date time dot now. And let's return now submission repository dot save and give your submission. Throw new exception, task not found with ID. Task ID. Okay, if it's not null, then create a new submission, and if it is null, then throw this exception, task not found with ID. Now get task submissions by ID. So let's implement this. Instead of returning null, here what I'm gonna do, submission repository dot find by ID. Find by ID, here I need to provide submission ID, then dot or else throw, here I will use lambda symbol, actually like this. New exception, task submission not found with ID. Okay, so let's give here submission ID. Alright, that's enough. Now let's get all the submissions. So submission repository dot find all. That's it. Now here get task submission by task ID. So submission repository dot find by task ID, and that's all. Accept or decline. So here what we need to do, first we need to find the submissions. So submission equal to maybe get task submissions by ID. Okay, and submission dot set status, and here we need to use task service as well. Complete task submissions dot get task ID. Submission repository dot save and submissions. Okay, after making all these changes we need to save the submissions. So guys, what we do here, user will, or maybe not user but admin will send the status from front end, like it should be accepted or declined. So according this it will set to the submission status, and after that okay, so you can see here I'm directly giving here complete task. Okay, but it should not the case. Let me make here one condition. If status dot equals accept, only then you should do this. Okay, if it is decline, then no need to make any changes. Okay, just change the status of submission. We don't need to change the status of our task. Okay, but if it accept, then our task status will be done. So yeah, that's it for this. Now let's create the controller. What I'm gonna do, let me create new Java class and create one controller. So it's gonna be submission controller, and let me annotate it with REST controller. Request mapping also we need to give. So what I'm gonna give here, API submission. It will start from submission. So let's complete this first. Submissions, and here we need submission service private, submission service auto add, then user service, auto add, and also we need task service. So let's task service and make it task service, give it auto add, response entity, submission submit task, and a post mapping, let me give here. Okay, so for submitting task we need task ID and GitHub link. So both are coming from request parameter. So what I'm going to do is let me give you a request params and the long task ID. Second is request param string GitHub link, GitHub link, and second is let me accept here request header authorization. Okay, let me remove one, and it's gonna be string JWT. That's it. Now let's throws exception if any found, and let's start our logic here. So user DTO user equal to user service dot get user profile, and let's give here JWT. Now let's create submissions. So submissions equal to submission service dot submit task, and here we need to provide task ID, then second GitHub link, third is user ID, so user dot get ID and JWT. Okay, now what we are gonna do is return new response entity submission and http status dot created. That's it. Now let's copy this, write another controller that is nothing but get task submission by ID. So let me get submission by ID. Okay, it's gonna be get mapping instead of post mapping. All right, now inside this we don't need any request parameters, so let me remove both of them. Instead of we need one path variable, so let's give here submission ID, or maybe only ID we can give here, and path variable. Okay, it's gonna be long. Now instead of this submission tasks, let me remove this and get task submission by ID. So let's give here ID, and that's it. Okay, it's done. Now let's create one more method for get all the submissions. So copy, and here we don't need to provide any ID, so let me remove this. Get all submissions. Okay, let me remove this path variable as well. Now it will return a list of submissions. Okay, so let me change the type here as well, list of submission, and instead of this get, let me write here get all task submissions and tasks. That's it. It is also done. Now let's copy this same, and now let's get all the submissions of any one particular task, any one task. Okay, get all the submissions of any one particular task. So for this, here we need to provide task and then task ID. task id. Let's give here path variable long task id, and instead of this get all, now what I'm gonna give here, get all task, get tasks, get submission by id, no, get all task submissions. Okay, and you can see what I need to provide here. Let me click here. Get all task submissions. Get task submissions by task id. Yeah, we need to use this, and here I need to provide task id. So task id, that's it. All right, this is also done. Let me structure this little bit. Yeah, now accept or decline. Okay, so what should I do? Public a response entity submission let me copy this, paste it over here. Instead of get mapping, let me write here put mapping, or I need to give here only id. id of submissions id. So, and let me change the name as well. So accept or decline submission. So what I'm gonna do here, accept or decline submissions, here I need to provide status and id. So id, and let's accept status as a request parameter. Request parameter. Status string will be status. And yeah, it will not return list of submission, but it will return single submission. So let me change that here as well. That's it. Instead of submissions, let me write here only single submission. Okay, so I guess guys, our all the controllers are done, means our API are ready to check inside Postman. So let me refresh it once, and then we can oh, it's giving us one error, find task by id. So here we need to provide task id. Let's rerun it again, and if all the things are going good, then we can test our API inside Postman. And you can see our project, our application is running fine. So let's open Postman and check it. But before this guys, as you all know that we are using task service and user service in our submission service. So we need to run these two applications as well, means this task microservice and user microservice as well. So let's go to here and run first task service, then task user service. All right, because if they are not running, they are not in a running status, then how the, our submission service will communicate with a user microservice and task microservice. Okay, so make it possible that communication, we need to run our user service and task service as well. So now our all these three microservices are in running status. So now we can check. So what we are gonna do is, let's go to submission service, or maybe first let's go to user service and logged in. I guess Ram, or maybe code with Josh. Let's log in with this. So let's go to login, because it has a okay, let's log in with this Ram's account. Okay, let's copy the JWT token from here. Let's go to environment, global, then change our token, saved, collection, go to collection, then submit task. Let's submit the task. So you can see we have provided task ID is 2, nothing but 2. So let's first check what are the tasks we have. Okay, we have task ID 2. So let's go to here, submit task, task ID 2, GitHub link this, and we have provided token as well. Okay, so now let's send request. It's saying not found API submit. Instead of submiss, here submission will come. Submissions. And let's go to here. It is saying during this 3 task 2 not found error. API submissions. So let's go to here and check our endpoint. Post mapping, you can see API submissions, API submissions, and these are post mapping, task ID, GitHub link. Okay, let's go to here, task ID, GitHub link, and submissions. Okay, localhost 503, it should work, but why it's not working? Not found. Task not found. All right, I guess problem with the task. So let's go to task service. We have a problem with this API tasks, then ID. It's not able to find the task, get task by ID. Why it's not able to find? All right, here we need to guys give 2 instead of 3, because this is our task service, right? And our task service is running on a port 5002, not 3. You can see. So yeah, now let's go to Postman and run it again, and you can see our submission is created successfully. You can see ID, task ID is 2 and user ID is 1, because Ram has a submit this task, and status will be pending. Okay, now get task submissions. So let's get all the submissions of task 2. So you can give here 3 and let's run. Not found. Of course we need to change this submission. You can see we have 1 submission. Let's create another one. So yeah, let's create another one with the same, and let's go to get task submissions. You can see we have 2 submissions now. All right, now let's accept submissions and decline submission. So for that, what I'm gonna do, I will create new request, accept decline submissions, and let's use this submission task. Here we need to provide the submission ID. So let's go to here. We have 1 and 2 ID of all the submissions. So let's decline 1. Okay, we need to provide the status. So let's check how we need to provide inside controller. Let's go to below complete. Status, that's how we need to provide status. Let's write the value accept or decline. Okay, and it should be port mapping. Let's try. Let's give it a try, and it's a required header authorization. So let's provide bearer token, and you can see our status is accept. And let's go to all task, and okay, it has done status because that time we have checked the API, but you can see it's working perfectly fine. All right, now let's get it again, and you can see the status is accept and this status is pending. All right, so yeah guys, I guess our all the API is running fine, working fine. We have checked all the APIs and no need to worry about our APIs. All right, I guess that's it for this video, guys. We have complete all the APIs related to submission service. So that means our submission microservice are completed here, and not only submission service but our all the microservices are completed here. First we have made user service, then we have made task service, and now our submission service is also completed. So now in the upcoming video, what we are going to do is, guys, we'll first complete the Eureka server. Okay, first we'll implement the Eureka server for our application, and then we will make API gateway for our microservices. So currently you can see our all the APIs is running on different port, but I want to access all the endpoints with only one single URL. Okay, not different URL. You can see currently if I want to access the submission service, then I need to use this URL like 5003. But if I want to access a task service, then I need to use this 5002 port. Okay, and for user I need to use 5001. But I don't want that. What I want is, I want to access all these services with single endpoint. Okay, means with single URL. Okay, not different URL. So for this we are gonna make API gateway. Okay, so using that API gateway URL, we can access all this API. Then we don't need to use this different ports. All right. So yeah, this thing we are gonna implement in the API gateway, but before that we need to implement our Eureka server. So let's implement this in our upcoming videos. Alright guys, so let's meet in the next video.